small business should go to ChatGPT and say, this is my business, this is what I do, this is who I do it for. This is my revenue growth over how many years, these are my costs, the things that cost me. And I want to use AI to double my revenue. What do I need to do?
Herc, thanks for doing this with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
AI, that's the topic that we're going to discuss today.
Yep.
I want to get started from the top. When did you realize that AI had the transformative ability to change businesses as a whole?
Well, predating AI was big data, the discovery of storage, infinite storage. So if you think about most businesses, it was all about a server and what size server you need to buy. And once the cloud came with infinite storage, that kind of changed the game because now you have the ability to store all the data that you generate and then use, there's always been machine learning models and AI, but use that on a long trajectory, 24 months of sales data to understand and forecast your sales. Now you can do year over year, month over month forecasting because now you can save the data because storage is cheap. So that was Gen 1, how it really started to impact a lot of industries because you can actually save your data and get the insights over a long period of time on that specific data.
Are you shocked to know that there are some businesses that are not doing that right now, even haven't started data analytics?
Not shocked. Most businesses existed in a world where in the information age, it was all about desktop apps, Microsoft Office, Excel, PowerPoint, and this is your business model. And then the IT group, they were hired to make sure that your computers work, your laptops work, the printers work, etc. And so there's a lot of companies that still exist like that, right? Asset heavy. And so most times the founders, I forgot the stats now around the baby boomers who are going to retire. And there's something like $2 or $3 trillion that, they need to figure out what's the next step, right? Because all of a sudden you have a business with a business model, you're executing on your stuff, and all of a sudden technology came and you don't want to change. And so there's a whole bunch of businesses out there that are blinded by the things that got them to where they are and having to change again. And so I'm not surprised what I'm seeing. I just think that it's scary that the types of AI being developed now can displace businesses at a much quicker rate than before.
At what point do you think that shift will happen? Or is it already happening?
It's already happening. If you take a look at deep tech and primarily Silicon Valley, there's a lot of tech layoffs as well. Like software engineering is becoming something an AI can do. There was a large language model released this week, Claude 3 by Anthropic. And the reasoning ability, it's in the upper 86th percentile doing LSAT, GREs, word math, etc. And so the reasoning ability of language models is becoming so good that it's going to displace a lot of people, a lot of businesses who are not ready. And I think people are thinking a language model is a search engine. So ChatGPT, we can ask it things, it's a chatbot, right? But the interface with the AI is a chat application. So people think it's a chatbot, but it's way more than being a chatbot. You can actually reason.
Let's take it back to your background and why you were interested in data analytics, and then the next iteration of it being artificial intelligence?
I've always been interested in cutting edge technology. My mom worked in research and development. So wherever there's emerging tech, I want to be part of the creation of the emerging tech as well. So it was just a natural gravitation for me going out to Silicon Valley, doing big data at scale, working in an organization that collected 5 petabytes of data, looking at open source software, looking at different types of technology, building things, seeing the capability of things, seeing where it can move the needle when it comes to businesses. So I've always been that type of person. And so for me, data analytics or making sense of data has always been there and will always be there. Early in my career, I was a radio frequency engineer designing cell phone networks and then taking a look at optimizing the networks using the data from the network. So I've always been in data, tech, the computing side, processing side. So it's just a natural evolution of what I'm doing now with my own company, where we're using English or language as the new programming language, where you ask a question and it actually generates the dashboard, gives you the insights you need, versus hiring a data analyst and saying, hey, could you build this dashboard? Well, what do you want to see? And this person's sitting waiting for you to tell them what to go build. You are now telling the AI, asking the question, and it's building it for you.
Interesting. So data analysts are not safe.
Correct.
I've seen a recent spike in computer science graduates struggling to get jobs. Do you think AI has some sort of a hand
Yes.
in that?
Yes. Software engineering used to be this funky domain, and engineering on the whole, this domain where your parents said, be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer, and you have a safe career. And it's no longer true. We used to do computing on CPUs, computing processing units. So you say, okay, I need a laptop with a CPU, 386, 486, Pentium chip, Intel chip. And with the rise of GPUs, graphical processing units, particularly Nvidia, who started creating GPUs for gaming. And gaming does a lot of 3D rendering, and so there's a lot of vector mathematics being used. Google came out with an architecture called a tensor architecture, neural network, and neural network tensors and GPUs, and boom, there was this rise of neural networks that are self-learning, which now we call generative AI, which is a whole different category of AI. And so with generative AI, it has the ability to learn on its own. And so the foundational models, which are the LLMs, large language models, so GPT is a model, and there are several other models. Llama is a model, Claude is a model, Mixtral is a model. What you're seeing, it's going into these traditional domains and doing better pattern recognition. And so you're seeing in medicine, they're using scans. The FDA approved a device a couple of months ago that detects melanoma. Right? So you have all this imaging that occurs across X-rays and MRIs. You feed it into this thing, it recognizes the pattern and says, oh, I can now recognize pancreatic cancer 18 months before a doctor could actually recognize it.
Wow.
So it's going to impact a lot of domains, including software engineering. And software engineering is the art of problem solving. I did a degree in master's computer science. The jobs that would exist is going to be people who understand problems at deeper levels and can ask a language model to solve it.
That takes us to prompt engineering. So if I have the ability to communicate with an LLM, does that make me an engineer?
Yes. Yes.
That easy?
Yes.
Tell me more about that.
Okay. So a large language model And foundational models are modeled after how the brain is designed. Humans function with, as a child, your parents create an environment for the child. So with tech AI, we call that guardrails, right? So your environment creates guardrails to limit your exposure to things. And your exposure of your environment, it's your knowledge being taken in of your physical environment using your five senses, right? Okay, so here we have this large language model being trained on all the books, on all this stuff on the internet, a lot of words. And you go to school and you said, okay, I need to read, write, geography, some social studies, some things, read some books. You go to middle school, high school, college. You say, I want to focus on this. You learn this, you become good. But we just fed a machine all of this. Now, you've learned this, you go to the world of work, and the expectation is that when someone asks you a question, you're able to synthesize an answer from all of the knowledge that you have. Well, here's this big thing that is trained on 70 billion parameters. Let's approximate a parameter to being one word. So you have 70 billion words, and you ask it a question, and it gives you an answer. And some people say, well, that answer was kind of all right, but we're trained to give responses to questions, not ask questions. So most people suck at asking a question with a context. So if I say, it's 12 o'clock and I'm hungry, and you're like, oh, there are a couple places to eat around here. But if I say, yeah, but I'm also fasting, you're like, oh, okay, it'll be over soon, it'll be 6 o'clock, you can do it. So your response was different based on the additional context I gave you. So it is with a language model. So people use ChatGPT to put in the stuff. It's all right, but you may not have explained the full context to get the output you actually need. And so the human brain works the same way. People have questions around hallucinations. Well, it makes things up. Well, humans do that too. You say, was it dark cold last week? It was all right. It was about 60 degrees. We just made that up because we remember it was just a little chilly. It's the same way a language model responds to questions where the knowledge is and the question is very vague. And so how the mind works, I give you an explanation about the human eye and how we perceive reality. So we have objective reality. The mind sees an object, the light reflecting on an object. So we see an object. It hits our retina inverted, drops it on the optic nerve, sends it to the brain. The brain looks through the pattern and says, okay, that's a chair. It's the same way an LLM is trained. It understands patterns. It creates what's called embedded. It creates a vector so you can search, look it up really fast. So they have all these embeds, and in the mind, there's these clusters of things. So again, if you look and you're like, okay, that's that kind of a chair. You're like, okay, well, that's a couch. Then you're like, okay, so the puffiest chair is called a couch. So now you put that in, and your brain works the same way to catalog things in your environment and make sense of it. And so people who are underexposed tend to be very, what we call narrow-minded, because the body of knowledge that creates their perception is limited. So it's very much how we function as people. And so, I tell people, treat it like a child. Give it sufficient context to get the output that you need. And the hallucination part of it, it's a feature, not a bug. And so for us, we tell a kid, you can be a doctor. And we paint a picture for a kid. And the kid starts seeing this picture, I can become a doctor. And we hallucinated that. And we're creating the image for the child. And the child sees the image and starts moving towards the image. And so hallucination is a feature for humans. And so I see hallucination as a feature when it comes to generative AI, because now where we're moving into what I call multimodal AI, not just text, the ability to say, create an image of a crying child, and it understands what crying and child and goes and constructs an image of a child that is crying, or create a video of a child being sad, and it'll create a video of a child, sad child.
Do you think at that point it's understanding emotion? Isn't that what kind of separates it from a human being at some capacity?
Great question. So then we have to go back to the definition of emotion, all right? Emo and shun, motion. And so there's a great book, The Construction of Emotions, The Secret Life of the Brain by Lisa Feld. And she talks about emotions not being universal. She's gone into cultures and asked certain questions, and emotions are not universal. And so what we perceive as emotions, it's our environment coaching us through making sense of some somatic or energy field, something happened in our body, somatic, and to make sense of it. And so with kids, I see it and I observe parents telling kids, that was not a good thing you just did. That was bad. And child can understand, like, I'm trying to feed off the energy and emotion. Well, maybe shouldn't do that. And then you tell a kid that was bad. And then they say, you made mommy angry. And they're like, oh, so that's anger. So that's what, okay. And we catalog the expression of energy for children, right? They learn these words that fit into this emotion box, right? Because if you go to the Caribbean and you say, hey, rude boy, that has a different meaning, the word rude, than in America. And the word rude has a different somatic response in different cultures as well. So if you say, I'm happy, right? How do you understand the depth of that?
Feeling.
Right? And so it's not universal. And so for us to use the same design to say, can an AI have emotions, is really around, can an AI understand its physical environment? So if I say, create an image of a crying child, and you used some compute GPUs and some memory and some IO, and you create that, and I say, create an image of a happy child, and you use the same thing at different quantities, and you create that, maybe you can map the quantities of things happening here to an output, and then say, oh, somebody asked a question and I generated that, so maybe I am sad, and construct its own reality.
Interesting. Well, I mean, you said businesses are not really using this technology as they should be using it to be able to solve solutions or problems, rather. And they're just simply using it to prompt instead of Google. It gives them a more specific, catered solution or answer to a specific question. One, how can a business owner could better use technology?
Sure.
And two, how can being a prompt engineer could lead into better business decision making?
Sure. Businesses have a couple core functions. Your finance, you may have sales and marketing, right? And then some other core business function. Sales and marketing. If you look at sales, you have a product or service that you want to sell. Market research, you need to do pricing strategies. You can say, okay, my competitors pricing at this. I think their sales volume is this. This is the persona. This is the persons we sell to. This is the characteristic of the person we sell to. One, what other products can we sell? Two, what is the price point? How can we become more competitive? You can ask a question, if I wanted to increase our revenue by 50% in the next 6 months, what are some of the strategies that you would create, right? And all that comes from giving it the context of the business, and it'll create sales strategies, new business revenue models, suggestions. On the marketing side, again, we know that's the most common use case, creating content, right? So you may have, let's say I have a restaurant and I have a Caribbean restaurant. That's okay, it's a Caribbean theme. Okay, in the Caribbean theme, what are some of the topics that are going to resonate with Kansas City? So, okay, it's in the Midwest. It will formulate, okay, here's some core themes. And then I can say, okay, based on this theme, how do I create a 30-day content calendar because I want to be posting on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, and it will construct the content for you to actually post. Part of prompt engineering is giving the large language model a persona. You are a world-class marketer. That's your persona. Got it. Okay, I want you to focus on building out a marketing strategy for a restaurant. Got it. This restaurant are going to serve university students in the area. Got it. So now meals need to be quick, cheap, etc. It gets the context. And then you start going and asking other questions.
I see.
Finance has the ability to understand spreadsheets. You give it a spreadsheet and understand, oh, this is a sales spreadsheet with sales accounts, close rates, the amount, etc. And it'll actually generate analytics around Excel sheet on anything you give it. And then you ask it, what do you recommend? What are your suggestions? And it'll actually reason and give you those as well.
I see.
Right? So every single, I wish it was every single person, but every single business and everyone within businesses and every career will be impacted by large language models and generative AI. And so it's going to be super important for people to understand what role it's going to play from a career perspective. If you can explain the steps to do something, the AI could probably do it. If your job consists of someone telling you what to do, the AI can do it.
I heard you say once that at any business that is large enough to hire C-suite executives, there will be a point in time where they will be forced to assign a chief AI
Yes,
officer.
correct.
Explain that to me. What prompted you to say that, and how soon could that change happen?
Sure. The capabilities of the AI products being created is pervasive. It's going to go into every single function: sales, marketing, finance, revenue operations, FP&A analysis, software engineering, data analytics, strategy, product development. It's going to impact every single function. And so you need someone at the executive level to be able to have a voice that constructs a vision of the future for the company and construct how the company is going to get there, leveraging the tech across all of the functions. Typically, anybody technical would belong to an IT group. And so traditionally, IT groups were operations, they had a budget, and your job is to support the rest of the business. Your job is not to create something that drives revenue. And so you have a huge glut of legacy type companies where you have people in IT seen as a back office function and tech not driving the business. And so unless you have someone at the executive level that say, hey, why are you using this marketing tool? Why do you have these people writing these things? We want to calculate pipeline conversion, marketing pipeline conversion. Why you have these people in Excel doing this stuff? Unless you have someone at that level that is able to introduce these AI tools in these functions, it will severely limit the growth of these companies. And if your competitor is doing it, you're going to go out to business even faster. So it's imperative at the C-suite level, it is imperative at the board level to understand the capabilities of the tools being created, how it impacts the existing business, how it impacts your business model, what business models need to exist in this new world, and how you're going to win. And the window of opportunity your company have to execute on to win against your competitor. Just windows of opportunities.
You think the window's still open?
In a lot of domains, windows are still open. But what scares me is the fact that sometimes executives suffer from inertia. I'm going to wait until I understand it fully to implement it, and you'll be out of time. There's a quote from the Nokia CEO. Nokia was the biggest handset maker in the world. He said, "We didn't do anything wrong." They're gone.
Yeah.
He said, "But we didn't do anything wrong. But you kept doing the same thing." But he said, "We didn't do anything wrong." So doing the same thing, it's super bad. Doing nothing is a decision. Super, super bad. We're going to have to create learning organizations where there's, in the past, I've created innovation programs cross-functional. Okay, let's take a look at the business. What tech do we have? What market do we serve? What new tech, existing customers? What new tech, new customers, etc. And I have this innovation matrix where we look at opportunities and get the entire company engaged in that to uncover new problem domains to be solved. Else,
Yeah.
you're not going to make it.
If you have to remove one executive officer from a company and to replace it with the chief AI officer, which executive will go?
Strategy. Strategy was a field where you do an MBA, they teach you strategy frameworks, and you come in and you get everyone aligned on the frameworks and create some output. You can do that with even ChatGPT, right? MBA programs were designed to create people who can manage the operations of a business on a known business model. When you have to discover a business model, it takes someone with a sense of experimentation. And typically, entrepreneurial minded people don't do MBAs. MBAs are like, I want a career in leadership and management. Okay, and here's the playbooks, and I execute on a known business model. Steve Blank calls it a known business model. And now companies are going to have another founding moment. So if you think about the founders of a company, they have to figure out stuff on their feet continually and learn continually about the market until they get to a tight product market fit. When they get to product market fit, they get to the new known business model, product market fit, and they execute on it. And that's where you bring in the people who can manage and lead through the execution of a known business model. But now we have another founding moment where the tech just disrupted everything else. Now you have to get back into the startup paradigm where you're going to have to start talking to customers and figuring out stuff and figuring out what tech can do, etc. And that type of uncertainty is not comfortable for a lot of people. So you need to figure out organizationally who has the propensity to function well in uncertainty, even at the executive level. And a lot of times, strategy officers come in with the known playbooks, and they said, okay, if OpenAI was to release GPT-5 in April with a reasoning ability, with a now 20% increase in reasoning ability, what does that mean for our business? Like, well, I don't know. That wasn't in the MBA program.
Yeah.
Right? So it's going to be very tricky on the people who like certainty, right? We'll probably get to certainty in another 5 years when everything's settled down, you see winners and losers, and then everyone is executing again on certainty. We'll get back to certainty. But right now, I think it was Jack Dorsey or Reid Hoffman talk about the wartime CEO and the peacetime CEO. And right now, there's a need for wartime CEOs. Wartime CEOs understand there's a runway. We don't have time to get to perfect. Perfect is going to be the enemy of done. Get it done, not perfect. And let's keep going and executing. Right? So this is the time for wartime CEOs, wartime executives to execute. You call your customers, you call people. This is time to learn. This is not time to say, yeah, we're a big organization and we've done everything there is to do, right? IBM used to be a great big organization. Where is it? Nokia. Where's Nokia? Nortel, BlackBerry.
Do you think the same might happen to Google? Because they're kind of
Google
behind.
fell asleep. Right? And December, 2 Decembers ago, they called red alert. Oh my God, OpenAI just released GPT 3.5 and a chat application called ChatGPT. What are we doing? Big reorg, embed generative AI in every product. Microsoft Office, why isn't there Gen AI in Microsoft Office? Everyone has Microsoft. So it was like, oh my God, we just woke up.
Do you think these disrupting organizations or even technologies seem to always catch the industry giants when they least expect it? Why is that?
Leadership. It's very easy for leaders to develop an ego and stop learning. So unless leaders continually learn, and that takes nurturing and placing importance of in your childlike curiosity and feeding it daily, you can fall asleep. People ask me, so what do you read? How do you stay abreast of things? I'm like, okay, where do I even start? I probably read 2 hours a day in micro doses, not 2 hours, like micro doses of things. And I used to read 2 books a week on things like philosophy, sociology, perception, cognitive psychology, right? And unless leaders do the deep work necessary, their level of perception and awareness goes down over time. And now you can become a liability to the organization.
Solid. I see it. I completely concur. Let's take it back to the small businesses. I heard a podcast this morning where the guy mentioned that companies need to start at least establishing their business so that they can be in the ChatGPT, this AI generative model system pool of data. How accurate is that assessment, or do you think it comes more from a fear-based standpoint of view? Because I'm looking at it in a way where, what if I'm not certain about the kind of business I'm about to create, right? Do you think just creating a business and putting it out there and using ChatGPT would help in any way, shape, or form? And you're talking about the next 5 years, we'll see who the winners and losers are, right? Same thing happened in the dot-com bubble, if I'm not mistaken. So what should small businesses that are already established do to better utilize this technology?
You know what? I have a prompt for that, right? Just thought about a prompt. Small business should go to ChatGPT and say, this is my business. This is what I do. This is who I do it for. This is my revenue growth over how many years. These are my costs, the things that cost me. And I want to use AI to double my revenue. What do I need to do? That's the prompt.
Let me see. Do you think they're gonna have to feed it those Excel sheets like you talked about?
Not in the beginning. Just
the prompt.
Just that's the prompt. This is what I do for business. These are the customers I serve. This is my product or my service. I'll tell you a little bit about the people I serve. This is my level of revenue. This is my costs. So these are the things that make up costs. I want to double my revenue in the next 12 months.
I see.
And I want to use AI to do it. What should I do? And it will generate it.
That's a good prompt. That's a prompt right there. Traditional industries like banking, I don't think they're going to be moved in any way, shape, or form. Just like how we talked about these Nokia and IBM and the tech space were easily surpassed. But how can traditional banks better utilize this technology? In what sense do you see that?
Banks are typically document heavy. And so there's a lot of documentation on paper and processing of people. The ability to replace that with chat agents, the ability to use object OCR to capture data from forms and automate the processing of it, the ability to move away from forms and create a chat interface, even if it's voice, for people to be able to submit information. It's going to be huge. The processing times, I'm not sure what happens on the back end processing because, there's a whole network of clearing houses and other things. But for banking specific, understanding the consumer personas is going to be key because there's a lot of data around the consumer, their purchasing habits, their financial goal setting based on the demographic, age, income, etc., gender, and consumption patterns, right? And then meeting people where they would want your services or want to be serviced. I think it's going to be huge. Fraud is another area that AI has always been there, but it's at a totally different level now. Risk and risk assessment, getting really better at risk and risk assessment as well. That's getting better right now. And then the customer service and the chatbot capabilities around customer service as well. There was a report, I want to say a week and a half ago, where a financial services provider had to let go 1,000 employees because in 1 month, their chatbots were processing, resolving inquiries in seconds, 75% of inquiries in seconds, and saving the company $24 million annually doing it. So customer service is gonna be a key area of opportunity for banks.
Impressive. What advice do you have for small businesses besides the prompt engineering as it relates to big data to stay competitive in any space, in any industry?
Get to know your customer and the customer patterns of consumption. And there's going to be the need for just human interactions. And the need for human interaction is going to drive the whole growth of other types of services. But the need to connect is going to be huge. The need to interact is going to be huge. And so I think small businesses who prioritize those things and be able to anticipate service levels and what their customers want in addition, they're gonna win. They're gonna win.
Totally agree. Let's talk about your business.
Yeah.
Tell me what it does. Tell me what it does and how it's helping the industry that you're in.
Sure. So it's supply chain and logistics. A lot of brands. If you think about Amazon.com, if I have a brand, I send my product to Amazon.com. It goes into the back hole, and Amazon does what it does to get the product to 1 day and 2 day shipping to your end customer. The downside is you don't have any brand recognition on Amazon. No one knows it's your brand. So there's 10 million e-commerce brands between WooCommerce and Shopify that exist in the US. They're not on Amazon. But if I'm running a brand and it's growing from a living room, and now I need warehousing. So now I need to interact with warehousing companies. I've never interacted with warehousing companies. So I come in and I say, okay, where should I put the product? Right? And so there's this whole 3-month cycle of brands trying to figure out which warehousing company to use and where to put the product, where's the demand geographically, etc. So we create a lot of tools for e-commerce brands to grow. And we also connect a lot of the warehousing companies and the FedExes and UPSs, etc. So the brand can now understand, oh, I need 20 cases of my product in Pennsylvania to service the East Coast. I don't need to store it in Kansas City. Right? And I can offer 1 day shipping. The shipping is going to be cheaper for my customers on my Shopify. And then the warehousing companies, they would typically hire a data analyst that come in who know Power BI or Tableau or send their existing employees. They have to come in, partner up, and create some operational dashboards and operational insights so that they can do a good job fulfilling on behalf of the brands. And so there's a talent shortage there as well. And then the tools they're using, Excel, Power BI, Tableau, are what I call first generation tools. And they're not leveraging prompt engineering. So what we have built is this analytics platform that plugs into all these things. And now you ask a question and it auto-generates your dashboards and insights. It tells you what's going on.
So it's more from a weekly reporting, daily reporting. It's more on demand to tell me what's going on in my business in this particular sector with this warehousing company that I have. I want to know what's happening. And
Yeah.
it just, is it giving you visuals or is it giving you?
It's giving you visuals, texts, forecasts, etc. So if you think about it as, I have a screen and he has some souped up ChatGPT-like thing in the back for all of the supply chain, and now I can ask these questions.
Yeah.
And it generates all my insights and everything else. Hey, show me the sales for year to date. Okay, show me it week over week, show me it month over month, and you just ask. So there's no need to have conversations with data and say, hey, this is what I want to see. Right? And then on the warehousing company side, you can say, show me the performance across all my warehouses, and if we are actually doing a good job fulfilling orders on time across my warehouses. And set up alerts, right? FedEx is going to do pickups at 5. We have 200 orders to fulfill. We have one guy picking the stuff. We need more people to pick the stuff to get these orders out on time. Efficiency, right? So, fun platform, fun product. We're rolling it out across a lot of the warehousing. We call it 3PL, third-party logistics companies, and a lot of the transportation side as well. We're having some conversations with transportation logistics companies to be the analytics platform of choice. And those are going well. And then through the warehousing companies, now they're able to offer analytics to the brands that they serve, so the brands can hold them accountable and also get some tools to be able to grow the brand, because when the brand grows, everyone downstream grows.
Beautiful. How can people reach your heart?
Hercules at HeftIQ.com.
That's the name of the company.
All right, HeftIQ. Heft is a British word meaning to pick up. So we say we do the heavy lifting in the back.
Yeah.
You just ask the questions.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, you're also available on LinkedIn as well.
Also available on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. I have an extensive network there as well. And I post regularly. I have a newsletter that I post things that executives should be thinking about on a weekly basis as well. So yeah, check that out. There's like,
I think companies need to consider having a discussion with you, to be honest with you, as this unfolds in the next 5 years, especially companies that are at risk
yes.
of being replaced by this giant of a storm that's coming.
Yes.
Or maybe that's already hit. You never know,
Yes.
right?
Now, there's another part I'm rolling out, an AI governance policy template next week. And I'm doing some consulting with some companies on creating an AI, a generative AI policy, company policy, because you won't be able to stop an employee from using ChatGPT and putting some stuff in it to get some stuff out.
Right.
But you need to create the guardrails for the employees to understand what they can use it for and what they can't use it or should not use it for.
I think that's absolutely necessary.
Right? And the privacy policies around it as well.
Oh, that's absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
So how's that being generated? Not generated, that's your business, but I'm saying, how can that be available? And how can people just, big companies?
Email me, just Hercules at HeftIQ.com. Send me a message on LinkedIn, just email me.
Is that for any industry or specifically?
Any industry.
Okay.
Any industry. I created a whole other company called Lifelong Learning Labs.
Okay, yes.
Right, lifelonglearninglabs.com, Lifelong Learning Labs. And you can reach me at Herc at Lifelong Learning Labs to really accelerate working with the executives, working with CEOs, working with boards, for them to understand the landscape, put things in place, right, to really get these companies really going. Right? So you can reach me again like lifelonglearninglabs.com and Herc at lifelonglearninglabs.com.
Lifelong Learning Labs.
Labs.com.
Is that available for anyone
Anyone
who wants to be a prompt engineer, basically?
So I have a lot of prompt engineering courses there, mastering prompt engineering. I'm adding a lot of resources for both the executives, boards, C-suite executives, leaders, and employees who want to do a career pivot and understand the world of prompt engineering and how it applies to their job as well. So I want to be able to, somebody to come to one place, and gain from the knowledge and experience that I have, but it's just a one-stop shop. Company can say, hey, let's go here. I've done prompt engineering training for organizations as well, and then people start understanding. Now I understand. Now we can use it by function. This, okay, we got it. And that's accelerated the business doing it as well. So,
Yeah, I recommend it because even having this conversation with you, I thought I had not a deep understanding, but I have a grasp of AI
Yeah.
because I've interacted with
Yeah.
things, and I'm actually taking some courses
yeah,
for me to better be interested in it, right? Or at least to learn how to better utilize it. But even having this conversation really helped me understand in a deeper level what this technology is all about and how to implement it.
yeah.
Anything else that you'd like to put out?
I'm on the board of UMKC, the analytics program, undergrad, grad. I really impressed upon them last year. They need to have prompt engineering in the curriculum. And so there's a possibility that I may do some stuff with them on the instruction side as well. But I'm really working with them to embed generative AI and prompt engineering into the curriculum so that the graduates coming out could come out functional and positively impact the organizations they're coming to. Education tends to lag what's happening in the real world. And so for me, it's a beautiful opportunity to be able to influence an institution, to be on the cutting edge, to stay on the cutting edge, because I think workforce development is something I'm very passionate about. And so I'm just making sure that my influence is there on the workforce development side of it as well.
That's necessary.
It is necessary.
Thanks, Eric.
Yeah. Appreciate you. Appreciate you.